There we go. So thank you everybody so much for coming. I am going to light a candle. Let me know if the books catch on fire. Feel free to unmute yourself at that point. Yeah, so I have a couple of acknowledgements that I'd like to make. One is a land acknowledgement. Where I'm living and where I am right now is part of the ancestral lands of the Coast Salish peoples, the Musqueam, the Squamish, and the Tsleil-Waututh. And most of you know that, or some of you know that I came to Canada from India when I was almost 7 years old. And at that time I lived in Surrey. Some of these poems were written while I was in Surrey, and some of them were written while I was in Vancouver. So I would like to acknowledge that in Surrey, I was also living on ancestral lands of First Nations people. And really these poems wouldn't have taken their form, or perhaps not existed at all, if I weren't living on this land. So as I read them, some of them are about place directly, right? They're about land, about where I am, about feeling foreign and feeling alien. And so I'd like to just acknowledge the ancestry of the land and that I am a settler here. My second acknowledgement is not spatial, but chronological, and it's the 75 years since Nagasaki. And as you know, Nagasaki was incredibly destructive event. It happened 3 days after Hiroshima. And yeah, it's just horrendous, the amount of suffering caused by both of those bomb blasts. But August 9th, 1945 was when the bomb went off in Nagasaki. And writing these poems, reading and writing these poems, these were the poems of a younger man. So they were written between 1995 and 2015. So I was between 25 and 45. And most of them are written between 25 and 35, I would say. And a lot of them are poems about orienting myself in the world and feeling estranged, reflecting on this younger man that I was and the poems that he wrote. I thought, it seems to me that estrangement is an appropriate response to the horrors of what human beings have done to each other, and in many ways to the systems of oppression that we live in and that I lived in growing up. So some of the alienation and the longing that you'll hear in these poems have systemic as well as individual causes, as I see it. I'd like to dedicate this launch and the readings to the memory of my sister, who many of you know passed away 5 years ago. It was in 5 days, so August 14th, it will be 5 years. And my sister would be delighted to be here. Oh, I see my mom's just arrived. She must have heard me. Yeah, my sister would have been delighted. And I remember when she gave a book launch, it was in Waterloo, Ontario, and Zoom technology hadn't developed at that time. But I remember talking to her about her book launch. She launched a novel, and I was very happy for her that happened. And eventually I read the novel. So there's some solemnity there, but I think that's fair and appropriate. That solemnity is, I feel, balanced by my gratitude to all of you for being here, for showing up. Because all of you represent the different communities that have sustained and nurtured me, in some cases over a period of decades. So I'm very, very grateful that you're here. I was reflecting on the phrase bear witness today. I feel as if you're bearing witness to me, another human. And in this launch, I'm bearing witness to you. We're bearing witness to each other. And with Zoom technology, we actually look at each other, you know, whereas if this was a traditional launch, all the chairs would be facing towards me. So I think there's something pleasantly democratic about this Zoom experience. Of course, I'm the only one with the mic on, so bear with me for now. Yeah, so I love this phrase, bearing witness, because there's a sense of, like, when we bear, it's usually we bear a burden, so there's a heaviness to it. There's a seriousness. And the witnessing that we do of each other's lives, whether it's immediate with our contemporaries, whether it's with those who have died, you know, I feel that's a very important part of being human. You know? So my plan is to do some reading and then check in with you if you have any comments, observations, questions. And then I'll do some more reading and then check in with you again. That's my plan. I'll say a few words at the outset about how to buy the book. This is what the book looks like. It's a little bit hard to see, but that image is like a spring or a summer day, and it looks like a sunrise to me. And on the back, it looks like a winter sunset. And the collection is called Only So Many Breaths, to signify evanescence and the speed of time and other things. Okay, so there are a couple of ways to buy the book. It's currently on Amazon, so you are able to download a copy for your Kindle or your Kindle app. And if you do it that way, it's $7. That's the cheapest way. If you want to buy this hard copy, I think all of you know how to contact me, and most of you have my email address. So you can send an e-transfer directly to my bank with that email address. And if you don't have my email address, just write to me and I'll give it to you. And once you do the bank transfer, I will get the book to you. So if you're in Vancouver, most of you on this call are in Greater Vancouver. I can get the book to you, like physically, without putting it in the mail. And I think one person is here from Mexico. I'm really delighted that she's here. So I would have to ship it to her if she wanted a hard copy. That's you, Lillian. It's funny to be talking about a present person in the third person.
Of course, I want to buy it. Maybe by Kindle. It's cheaper and easy.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's a good way. And so if you want me to write anything in the hard copy, if you want to tell me what you want me to write, I mean, that's one option. Just dictate it to me and I'll do it, depending, of course. Or you can just say, could you please sign your name? Or you can say, you know, could you please write me a note? Whatever you want to write, you could leave it up to me. But just let me know, just be clear about that in your communication, okay? So, any questions at this point? Should I jump to the reading? Okay. All right. So the book starts with it's not actually a preface, but it says, these poems were written between 1995 and 2015. They are arranged emotionally, not chronologically. They are dedicated to you, reader, listener. First poem is called Sprung. It's the first poem in the book. Twilit blossoms billow and scatter, cover concrete, embellish windshields like Indian weddings. Night's blue glory fills ocean, land, and sky. I walk and scents trickle in, tree-dimmed lamps, rhododendrons bursting like fireworks, a glinting swan in the lagoon, willows pouring over the water like scholars. I head home reluctantly to avoid the sounds of cars, uplifted by the season, tranquilized by darkness. Some of you know I've lived in the West End for a long time. I moved into the West End in 1999, and I've lived in 4 different apartments since then in the West End. So you might have recognized Lost Lagoon there.
I did.
I don't have a poem about summer. I was reflecting on this today, and I think that may be because I love summer too much to be able to write about it. It's my favorite season. So, hi, Paul. So the next poem is called Autumnal. I pray to the God of mountains, ships, and silver. Finding trinkets worthless, I chase ghosts that hide. Oh, sorry. This is what happens when you read off a computer. It scroll down on your mouse and shit hits the fan. There we go. So I'll start that again. Just a sec. Okay. Sorry, I lost everybody on Zoom for a sec there and got you back, so that's good. Autumnal. I pray to the God of mountains, ships, and silver. Finding trinkets worthless, I chase ghosts that hide and dance and chide me. Ravenous at night, no cotton. Oh. Sorry. Ravenous at night, no cotton or silk fills me like her skin. Candlelight gathers and overcomes. Bring the holy time. Sprinkle my pillow with fairy dust. Take me to that place where rest resembles tall grasses, breeze drawn and molten, to be ravished by darkness, cannibalized by the hobgoblins of plainness and bridges. Take breaths, give rice, give wood. These are yours. What will be mine? I listen, trust, obey. Still you elude me, and I feel alone. Every minute you say I'm guided. All you comforting spirits, let me sense you. Let me melt into my sheets, buried by these quilts. Honor me like a bough in spring. Favor me with granted wishes and abundant promise. Like a field of pumpkins, like seeds bursting to life. Rain and cold will be unwelcome. Pain rise insurgent. tides of chaos and beauty, while leaves gust in trees, flicker in the gray, while lovers serve the curving act, dogs summon loyalties like seasons, and pancakes tempt the knowing doubter. Love, lift this balloon to stars I've never seen. Remind me how life unfolds past recognition. Make me worthy. Show me strength. I want to know about setting tables, buy fine china, and smell the wet earth. Taste corn again. Dance close with you, and hear that parachute open and descend into the compass hollow, where we rise, fresh and fed. Okay. Can everybody hear me okay? Maybe just give me a thumbs up. I know there's a lot of traffic in the background. Okay, great. So let's go on to the next poem, and these are two short ones. This is called Night Flood. Mine is the solitude and fresh night. Yours is the flood. Ours is the distant kiss of fronds brushing lightly in the wind. Next one's called Night Suit. Get ready for bed, Mom and Dad would say in India. Go put on your night suits, which became pajamas when we came to Canada. But the Hindi word was less exotic. Imagine, night suit, flying suit, diving suit, ready for the adventures of sleep, Captain Dreamer. All right. How are people feeling? Should we do a little check-in now, or would you like some more poetry? So if you want to check in now, maybe just raise your right hand high. Okay, so one person wants to check in. Stella wants more poems. Can't make everybody happy, right? Okay, let's do a little check-in. Kay, do you have something to say? Can't hear you, your mic is off.
Am I there again?
Yeah.
Good, okay. I was enchanted with the title from the very beginning.
Night Suit?
No, the real title, the book.
Oh, Only So Many Breaths.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're not wasting your time, clearly.
Yeah, there's a lot behind that title, so I'll just I'll respond a bit to that. When my sister passed away in 2015, it was a very profound and visceral sense of mortality that I felt. When someone you love so much and is so close to you passes away, it becomes very apparent profoundly and inescapably that you too are going to die. And you don't know when, because as some of you know, she had late stage cancer that she was diagnosed with. And she was diagnosed in November 2014 and passed in August. So there's this sense of, you know, the ground beneath your feet shifting and you don't know how much time you've got. So I gathered together my poems. There were 19 of the 20 poems in this book were gathered together at that time. And I went to the Langara print shop. Those of you who work at Langara know where the print shop is. And I spoke to the friendly people there and I said, you know, I'd like to publish a book of poems. And so I did. It had a blank cover and I gave it to my closest friends. And that was in 2016. And then I thought, well, I can do a better job with this. So I added one more poem and found a printer in Victoria that printed a book of memoirs for a family friend, which they did a really good job, and I felt I could trust them. And so, yeah, then I engaged them, and we discussed different cover ideas. I highly recommend self-publishing. I think pretty much everybody on this call is a writer. So Joel is raising his cup to that. Actually, Joel, I think that's the correct pronunciation, right? Yeah. Great. So yeah, I highly recommend self-publishing, and I would recommend this company, but overall. So feel free to talk about that if you are thinking of self-publishing. Email me or contact me, and we can talk about that some more. So the original book was called So Many Breaths because I wanted to create a sense of abundance. It was originally called So Many Breaths. But even the idea that you're counting breaths suggests something, limited and scarce. And then I after that book came out in 2016, I ran the idea by people, what do you think about only so many breaths? And I remember asking Maruna about that, and she said she really liked that. And she said, the way I recall that conversation was she said it had a poignancy and urgency about it that she liked. And so I thought, yeah, that was my original idea, and I thought I was being too pessimistic, but I think, yeah, I don't see it as pessimistic anymore. I see it as real. So, does anyone else want to raise a point, or should I proceed with reading some more poems? Okay, I'll proceed. So please turn your mics off if you haven't done so. All right, so the next poem is called Canadians. There are 4 kinds of Canadians: those who know in their hearts what happens in poor countries, those who know, those who don't want to know. Next one is called Cell Culture, a Protest Haiku. And this was before the smartphone. They were still called cell phones at that time. Most of you probably remember that ancient period. So yeah, this is a haiku. Tool beside their ears, people are neither present fully here nor there. The next one doesn't have a title. Actually, because Lillian is here and she's from Mexico, I wasn't planning originally to read this poem. There are 2 poems that are related to Mexico, but I'm going to read this one. It's called Full Moon on the Yucatan. So I've been to Mexico twice. I was around Puerto Vallarta for 2 weeks, and then I was in the Yucatan for 2 weeks. Gray clouds lie below us like dust bunnies, wisps at their tops, lit by the sunset, orange air crashing into the cabin. That mottled hole in the sky gazes on, serene. Sun to the left, moon to the right. The window of a 737 lifting off a peninsula. So the next poem doesn't have a title. I'm trying to figure out a way that I can read and look at you at the same time, because, so I'm gonna shift to plan B here, which is reading from the book so that I can look at you. Otherwise, the text takes up the whole screen. So this is one of the I think there are 4 or 5 untitled poems. What I'll say about this, if you don't consider yourself, if you don't feel comfortable with poetry, this is perhaps what I would say by way of introduction to this poem. So in everyday life, I would say we make words work, right? We put words to use. Could you please pass the salt? I want that book, not that one. And so we're using words in this instrumental way. But words can also be used, as we say, poetically, which is not necessarily referentially, but we're using poems, using words because of their sound, or alternately because of how they look on the page. But I'm interested in sounds and rhythms, and I like the idea of words not having to work so hard, but just appearing and having a sonic moment. And this also draws from stream of consciousness and free association. Tassel-tipped after sunset, the snow, gray-laden waves, taking paths and paths, the difficulty of binding, feeling stones tricked, the missing pain tremulous, as if neglected, rocks ground, the gelding broken, children like faucets, crying, runny noses, slate gray silver, pink rivulets or veins, the jackal's target, wasting the night, some ancient vice, incarnadine seas, the breath upholds, sovereign, bell out of reach, gift of that woman, a dream of Spain and love, drained like laughter, wine, red on your teeth, we embrace, it gets dark, I didn't hold you long. Thanks, Estella. And Lakshmi. So the next one is similar, but I feel like it has a little more representationality. I feel like it's more clear and more coherent, more intelligible, you could say. Not to say it's a better poem. And so again, it doesn't have a title. When people go and leave us, the moon lies, brave, serene, indistinct, like a morning without cover. Bring your holy fire here, this gift, that altar. No homecoming, no map of heavens. Give voice to tables, bless the longing that curves, makes meals relevant, closes eyes at night. Take to the sidewalk, bring back the rustle of friends, calumny, features of islands. Push yourself like paste along the street. The sea no escape, nor sky, only a hush out there, mountain silhouettes. A breeze comes like an old lover. You feel how much is taken, how much abides. I'm going to read one more, and then I'll open it up again. This is called Cleaning Grout. very clear. Maybe everybody's clean grout. Such an interesting word that we almost never use. I think of it like mortar to bricks. The spray bottle in my left hand, thin, hard scrubber in my right. I go at it. Month after month of buildup since I moved into the apartment. I've been meaning to get rid of it for a long time, seeing it every day between the tiles. The muscles required are foreign. Pen, eraser, mouse, keyboard, pushing and pulling doors. That's what my hands, arms, fingers usually do. But cleaning is also cleansing, I reflect monkishly. And this layer of significance is comforting. Feeling it's good for my soul. Thinking of the person who might use this shower or apartment next. For now, it's just me seeing it. Cleaner now, residue brushed away with a damp cloth. Just me to appreciate the work of my back, arm, hand for 25 minutes on a Saturday afternoon. Okay, so I'm opening it up. Thank you everyone for your lovely comments. I'll read them later. I'll have that to look forward to since this is being recorded. So any comments or questions?
I would very much like to relive a line from an earlier poem, Autumnal, if I may, about pancakes. I love that line. I would love to hear it again.
Pancakes tempt the knowing doubter.
Yeah, that's it. I like that. It's beautiful.
Thank you.
It's funny because for me, it recalled the simplicity of being so excited about pancakes at first, but by the end, they seem to be a little too much sometimes. So it was very nice.
Thank you. Yeah, there's something about returning to your senses, right?
Mm.
I think it was Eckhart Tolle who said that if we focus on one of our senses, and put all of our mind into it, that can bring us into the now.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, yummy pancakes. I haven't had any. You know,
I think what it was the use of tempt. It was just I think that pardon the pun added a layer to it for me. That it hung on. It was very nice.
Thank you. Yeah. Well, the word tempt is such an interesting one, isn't it? I love that.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny, Joel. I wrote down that exact same line.
I wrote that one down. And what was it? And Carnadine Seas. That was the other one I wrote down. Yeah. Tempt is a funny word. Amazing word. Yeah.
Yeah, it was Oscar Wilde who had some aphorism about temptation. I can
Resist anything but.
resist anything but temptation.
Meditation. Yeah. But the funny thing is about the word tempt versus temptation. Tempt has got that nice percussive 2 T's on the end of it. Tempt, right? It's percussive. Temptation, smoother. So I don't know, maybe that's why it kind of stuck for me.
The silent P, the P just smuggled in there. Clandestine. Wow, cool that people are taking notes. I love that. It's almost like it's like a dream state, you know, and
Mm-hmm.
you know, what sticks with you. We use this word stick, you know. What sticks with you, what stays with you, what lingers in your consciousness, what's gonna stay after the reading. That's always a very interesting question, and you know, it yields some knowledge about ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're your dream class.
You're my dream class in more senses than one, yes. I have it on gallery, and so I like that. I'm just, it's funny, I've never said anything about this to people talking about Zoom, but I tend to like to have it in speaker mode because I feel if it's in gallery, I'm not able to see people's eyes. And, after the first few Zoom calls that were in gallery, I was like, I haven't felt that I've connected with anybody.
Mm-hmm.
I switched it to speaker because then you get the person's big face, and so that's the advantage of that. But I think since this is being recorded and other people are going to watch it, gallery for now. It's also fun for me to be part of the gallery, because I don't feel like all eyes are on me. All eyes are on the screen, everybody else. So kind of deflects that attention nicely. Cami.
Right. Well, I just wanted to thank you again, Glenn, for reading your poems to us. What a vulnerable and lovely thing to do. I was really touched by a lot of them and taken to some really, really lovely places. But a couple of the lines that really, really got to me were one of them from one of the earlier poems, "Willows pouring over the lagoon like scholars." To me, that just felt so visceral, and I thought, yes, like that is exactly what a scholar does, just hunched over. Like the visualization was really intense for me with that. And then I really, from the, I think it was called The Night Flood, the night suit, ready for the adventures of sleep. Oh, I want a night suit. That's great. Love it. It just took me straight back to childhood. So thank you for that.
Yeah, thanks for that one. That's a good merchandising option, eh? I should sell night suits with this book. That'd be brilliant. Only so many breaths, like on the front, and then that'll be your night suit.
Make sure it's not made out of armor.
Right.
As in night, with a K.
Yes. When Cami pointed out that line about willows pouring over the water like scholars, I heard the word pour as a pun. And it's sort of, when you write, you put things there that you don't see on every reading, right? So when I was reading this book recently, I didn't necessarily see that, but hearing it out loud created that resonance that, oh, this is like a pun, right, on the word pour. So it's like when you write, you put in these little gifts to your later self. Yourself between 40 and 45 might not catch this layer of meaning, but when you're 45 to 50, you'll get that, which is really cool. So I have 5 more poems. Oh, Maruna, go ahead.
Yeah, I loved all of it. Oh, and I want to hear those 5 more poems. But I just have a question about your writing process. I'm curious to know how I know you have a musical background, and how does music influence your writing, and has it?
Yeah, thank you. Some of my poems are really just about rhythm, and Ted and I have talked a little bit about rhythm in the poetics reading group that I'm a part of. I think it was Flaubert who said he wanted to write a novel where nothing happens. And so some of these poems, I feel like I don't really know what happens. So that poem Tassel Tipped, for example, one could find meaning in it, of course, and everyone's invited to do that. But I'm really interested in these sounds, putting these sounds together, deciding where the line should break, deciding what punctuation should be where, and how punctuation affects rhythm, brief pause with the comma, the effect of a line break, how that affects rhythm. And I try not to read poetry in a sort of like in ways that I've heard others read it. Like I feel like we have our own ways of reading our own and other poems. And I, for example, I read my poems very slowly, and others might read them faster. But I'm interested in pitch, you know. And so sometimes the words will come out, and I'll be like, wow, like that ended high, that ended higher, and this ended low. And so I'll be interested in the differences in pitch and intonation, you know, when I read aloud. And as other people read your work, that becomes interesting too. Dave and I used to play more frequently in a band called Snowman and Heat, and I always thought it would be fun if the audience, you know, sang back your own song to you. So the pleasure of listening to somebody else read your poetry would be wonderful too. So yeah, thanks for that question. I feel like there's a lot of, I'm really interested in musicality, and as I say, oh, thanks, Linnea, for that. It was burning up the shelving. There's a black spot on my shelf now. Good eye, Linnea. Thank you.
I was just going to add that I wanted to say in terms of you reading slow, and I could still hear a rhythm, and there's a flow happening quite a bit in the lingering of some of those words, and that's why I was thinking, oh, there's a musicality there for sure. It'll be interesting for you to play back your recording of this whole video, the Zoom thing, to see what it is you hear through that process. Because I could hear certain sounds. It's reminded me of music notes, and I could also visually see as though I'm watching a painting as well.
Wonderful, thank you. Yeah, I love that. Excuse me, what I would call synesthetic experience, so that it's engaging more than one sense. So it might be engaging your eyes, your ears, as well as some kind of cognition, like you know what is being represented, and maybe viscerally as well, emotionally. So yeah.
Glenn, I found your analysis of your poetry quite interesting, because, you know, clearly there's this musicality to it, but which I have more difficulty with. But I'm wondering, you know, considering that my hearing is not that good, but it never has been. But so I tend to visualize what you are reading more than to listen to the tones of it. I just wonder how much, having come to Canada and learned a second language, how much has happened in your mind where you're comparing the sounds of languages?
No, English is my first language. So my second language will be, well, I learned a little bit of Hindi when I was in India, in school. But my parents' first language was English. And so I grew up in an English-speaking household. And some of you know that my mother, so I play the piano, my mother plays the piano, her father played the piano, and his mother played the piano. In fact, so that's my great-grandmother. She was a piano teacher. And one of my most precious heirlooms is a collection of the complete Beethoven piano sonatas in 2 hardbound volumes published in 1910. Which were in the possession of my great-grandmother. So yeah, music is in the bones. And the musicality of language. Yeah, I'll come to you in a sec, Dave. Just want to say, I'm very grateful to my parents. Both of them were avid readers, and they loved language, and they made that clear to both of their children, their love of language. Dave?
I was going to say, Glenn, that you know, John's comment and Maruna's comment, I think, show a very deep understanding of who you are, or who I think you are, or who I know you to be. In that it speaks to your musicality and the fact that you love music. It's yeah, and I really, you know, it's those times that we have played and hopefully will play again are, you know, it's a real treasure. And I actually do have, and so I disappeared from the screen for like 2 seconds to actually look for poems or songs of Glenn's. So if you would like that experience of someone in the audience reading back your own poems to you, you can. I have some here if you want to hear one later.
Yeah, thank you. Is there a short one that you can find?
Yeah.
How does everybody feel? Raise your hand if you want Dave to read a short poem of mine.
Well, okay. Well, here's the choice, because it's your special night, right? So, would you like to hear "Until," "Better or Worse," which I think is, from what I understand of that song, is appropriate. It would be very fitting. "Breathe, Child," "Middle of the Road."
Oh, well, I'd say it's our special night. Thank you all for being here. Go ahead and read "Until."
Okay. All right. This is "Until" by Glenn Deefholts. Nights with you and days with you, and wine and food and friends and laughter. Who knows how long this world will last? Necessary time and bouts of longing, all for this disagreeing. Oh, so human, this life divine. You're like some part of me I lost, all of the things that I went through until I was ready for you. We could walk under leaf-filled branches. Our feet could slap along the cold, wet beach, hands held tight. We'll be facing our share of triumphs and disasters. We'll find a way somehow. You're like some part of me I lost, all of the things that I went through until I was ready for you. Bring candles to our feast, a springtime of Fridays. Just say yes once for this to arise. Nights with you and days with you, and wine and food and friends and laughter. We could walk under leaf-filled branches. Our feet could slap along the cold, wet beach until I was ready for you.
Thanks so much.
Thank you. You wrote it, man.
Well, no, that was great. That is officially the first time that anyone's ever read one of my poems to me at a book launch. Well, this is my first book launch, so that would stand to reason. But I feel like people have read my poems to me in the past. Any more comments, or should someone have their hand up there, or should I proceed? The last set of 5 poems, and these are short. Okay. So this is called Davy Bus. I used to catch the Davy bus to go to work. We sit facing uphill in the morning, ready for blast off. Sun rusty off buildings, sky an open hand. Then Davy's gritty colors channel surf by. A left turn and Granville's renovated confusion. Glimpses of BC Place at Robson, pink off the puffy roof. This one's called Ways to Describe Clouds. I'm actually reading by candlelight here, which I never anticipated was going to happen on a Zoom call. But Ways to describe clouds. Actually, if you don't mind, I'm going to open my blind. It was closed because a beam of sunlight was coming through. Oh, much better. Wow, Linnea, thanks for saving the day with that candle call. I don't know if I'm going to be able to scrub that stain off the bookshelf. It'll be a mark of this launch.
The day is marked.
Ways to describe clouds. Water sparkling on the breeze doesn't represent your smile. The sun takes you to some unknown agility. The leaves in late June, let them stay this once longer than October. Another cloud bank at the horizon. Students complained about the morning rain. Shadows cast in the bay shift. To close my eyes now, surrender the afternoon to sleep, feels like giving up. Take me with you, cowboy, to watch a matinee, risk demolition, fade like vapor. Read something beautiful you've written that brings salt to the edges of my eyes and forces me to blink. Gold boats, wedding presents, moats and goats, feline feelings, the tremble of night. Not wishing to carry all this, I must sleep sooner than later. Loving existence, even when I'm torn, which is often. Next one's called Karen. Irises like caramel, dainty languor, smoking. That you smoke, all your beauty. I don't want to want you. Next one's Untitled. So there's a poet named Gerald Stern who I read. I believe he's an English poet who lived in Spain most of his life. Reading Gerald Stern makes my eyes burn, like hearing Neruda in Spanish used to do. The sweet sadness makes aging lovely. I let everything weigh me down. I want to go through my souvenirs, discard and keep, and do it slowly. The time has come for tears. Let me cry. I've only been holding this for 30 years. Oh, let me cry. I love you who have inhabited me, my father, my last girlfriend, my ex-fiance, the Japanese maple at the house in Surrey, the tree line from the living room. You old poets make dignity and tenderness possible. There is everything to thank you for. This turning hinge to later life, autumnal spirit, nodding acknowledgement, bowing deeper. That line about bowing reminded me of Aikido, and so Cami and Dave are former Aikido practitioners. I wanted to mention that. The significance of bowing. That's not the title. That's a phrase that came to me. So I've got one more, and then we'll take some more comments and questions. This is the last poem of the book. It's called Variations for Natalie. And I do remember when I wrote this, I was about 25 years old, 24 or 25. And as you can imagine, I had a huge crush on Natalie. Variations for Natalie. Aria, when I see you. Sorry, let's start that again. I'll just say a little bit about this structure. So the theme and variations form, you might have heard of the Goldberg variations, for example. So the Goldberg, I think, has 32 variations on a theme. So the aria is the statement of the theme the first time, and then the variations are variations played on that theme. And then you hear the aria, exactly the same notes as you heard the first time. You hear it at the end. And so you've changed. You've changed in the course of hearing that piece. And so you're hearing that aria differently. The pianist is playing it differently, right? Variations for Natalie, aria. What I see in you, a principle of inhabitation, a ritual of birth and thirst and laughter, the curves of your knowing. 1, dew forming. 2, this lower register, a lily pad in darkness. 3, a completion to you so that I wondered when you said your age. 4, you told me things that made me smile and shake my head for days. In elementary school, you were Indiana Jones for Halloween. You'd ask your mother to say yo-yo in front of your friends, so she'd say Jojo. 5, this warm night, moon out, and all the stars like trinkets or jelly beans, waiting for your quarter. 6, evenings out in your 40s, often there's color in your cheeks, kindness in your wrinkles. 7, the vitality of walking, skirts in the morning, reading to children, grinding, kneading, a smile at the opera, silence while driving, squint at the wheat, scarf in your hair. On the bed crying, close the door slowly, not lying, sitting, dumb fist at your side. 8, live like a kite flyer, string, paper, color. Live like the wind, lifting your voice. Sweat on my forehead is cooler in summer. Fields lie in winter, sleepy with snow. 9, me. Me, foraging in darkness, who can hear the Spanish whisper separating archer from target? You laugh. I feel like Tiresias opening for Aristophanes. 10, shall I compare thee to a well-made diaper? Thou art more absorbent and unclinging, responsive as a kneecap in reflection. The bionic woman was a cyborg like you, but you know what techne shares with poesis. 11, residence on earth, hourly costs, daily rents, kisses and the bruises, language gives. 12, impassioned dreams, quiet rapture, I smile, that was a time. Aria da capo, your tones formed my desire, found me, thankful, sensing, your knowing. Okay, thank you. Thank you for the applause icons. Talk about visual instead of auditory. Thank you. You know, another thing, just to respond a little more to Maruna's question, one of the things I was reading, I was noticing as I was reading was breath, right? You know, taking in a breath knowing that you're going to be releasing it over several lines, 8 lines, 10 lines, taking in a short breath, knowing you're going to release it over 1 line or 2 lines. So how the person breathes through the work, it's really interesting. That's conscious and unconscious as well. Yeah, breath, hence the title, that's part of it. So any final thoughts, comments, questions? Wow, all this was an hour. To me, it felt like 2 hours. It felt to me like 2 hours went really fast, but I'm glad it was only an hour.
What's next for you?
Well, thanks for asking. So my book, Gender Fluid, is coming out, and the same printer is working on it. The cover is being designed almost as we speak. I don't think she's working on it on the weekend, but she'll be back at it on Monday. And it's very interesting to collaborate on cover design, right? Like between me and the artist, the back and forth. She shows me some ideas and I look at them. And so the layout is almost completely done. Rob, I think your mic's on. The layout's almost completely done. And yeah, I'm hoping I can launch it in the summer. I don't, my preference would be August, but it might have to be September. I've got till September 21st for it still to be summer. So yeah, I'm excited about that. And then after that, some of you know I've started writing a novel that will probably take, I'm imagining it will take maybe 5 to 10 years. And I describe it as a novel about my family culture. And I mean culture both in the sense of the environment, the dynamics, as well as the ethnicity or the ethnic aspect of my upbringing. So in terms of writing, that will keep me busy for a while. Anybody else? Okay, I'm gonna blow out the candle then. Thank you so much for coming. This has been a wonderful experience for me. It's been great to see all your faces and hear your questions. I'm looking forward to the next launch so we can do it all over again. All right, take care. Blessings. I'm gonna blow out the candle. All right, have a good night.
Bye.
Hi, Glenn. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Bye, Glenn. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Nice meeting everyone.
Nice to see you, Joelle.
Thanks a lot, Glenn.
Thanks for coming, Sean.
Bye-bye, Glenn. Thanks so much.
Bye, Kate. You're welcome.